Good morning. Before we get started, I'd like to acknowledge that there was a critical incident in Gahanna. The details are still unfolding, but I ask that you keep the responding officers and the innocent involved people in your thoughts and prayers. So good morning. My name is Jay McDonald, and I'm president of the FOP of Ohio. And we're here today to announce a new initiative that we are calling Protect Ohio Police. I'm joined by law enforcement officers and FOP leaders from across the state, from Cleveland to Cincinnati. And I thank you all for being here. I'll be joined at the podium later by FOP Lodge 69 President in Cincinnati, Ken Kober, Akron FOP Lodge President Brian Lucy, and my friend Angie McDowell, surviving spouse of Terry McDowell, who was murdered in the line of duty while he served the citizens of Whitehall. I want to start off by talking about the month of May. Since the 1960s, the month of May has been recognized as Law Enforcement Officer Memorial Month. And many of us have traveled from local to the state to the national memorials to honor and pay our respects to our fallen. At the Ohio Memorial, six names were added to our roll call of heroes just this month. And on May 15th, on the grounds of the United States Capitol, 345 of my brothers and sisters who have given the ultimate sacrifice in service of their community were honored and will never forget what they did on our behalf. You see, May is a month of mourning and of honoring and remembering. And with each event, local community leaders, agency heads, and regular everyday citizens came together with messages of remembrance and thanks, an outpouring of support. And despite that support, May was particularly violent and deadly for the men and women who protect and serve. Hamilton County Deputy Larry Henderson was deliberately targeted and mowed down simply because of the badge he wore. He was assassinated because he chose a life of service to the citizens of Hamilton County. Just yesterday, we buried Morrow County Deputy Daniel Sherrer, who all he ever wanted to do was serve his community and keep his neighbors safe. And he gave his life in return. Here in Franklin County, not far from here, 2 Mifflin Township officers were brutally targeted by a violent thug who should have been in jail. See, those messages of support and comforting words are not enough. We know that the public means well, and we appreciate it. We appreciate the well-meaning messages of support, but my brothers and sisters remain under attack. And action is what is necessary to make it stop. So that's why we're here today, to launch a new initiative we are calling Protect Ohio Police. We have 20,000 plus members statewide, and we are united in calling for action. We demand that cities adopt local laws that protect cops. Demand that mayors stop criticizing the police when they do their job as they are trained to do. We demand that judges set bail that protects our communities. We demand that prosecutors stop cutting deals that put violent criminals back on our streets and endanger the public and those who protect them. We demand that legislators increase penalties for those who commit violence on the police, both here in the State House and in Washington. These demands will be the focus of Protect Ohio Police. We need more than words. We need solutions. Solutions that will protect the police and allow the police to protect their communities. If these elected officials don't respond effectively, we will recruit challengers and we will defeat each and every one of them. We will raise millions of dollars and mobilize tens of thousands of regular Ohioans to do just that. Over the coming weeks and months, we're going to announce a framework from city halls to county courthouses to the State House and beyond. We will grade our elected officials on their commitment to protect those who protect us and abide by Protect Ohio Police. And we will publicize the result. We will expressly tell our supporters to only use lawful actions in these discussions. Because remember, angry bad guys act out with violence, but angry good guys act out with their voice and their vote. And hear me when I say, we are angry. We are angry. Mark my words, we will mobilize our more than 23,000 members and their families and their friends and neighbors and our thousands upon thousands of supporters and boosters across this great state until we have elected officials who will protect Ohio police. Make no mistake, you can see by those around me today, we are unified. And we will mobilize on a statewide basis. We will go wherever we need to go to fight for those who protect and serve. With that in mind, I'd like to introduce President Brian Lucy from Akron FOP 7. Brian.
Thank you, Jay. My name is Brian Lucy, president of Akron FOP Lodge 7. May was a devastating month for law enforcement here in Ohio, with Hamilton County Deputy Larry Henderson and Morrow County Deputy Sheriff Daniel Sherrer being murdered. We have had similar incidents in Akron, but no one has lost their life. After Deputy Henderson was murdered, we had individuals show up at our city council meeting during the public comment section and speak about eye for an eye and an appetite for justice, suggesting that type of violence towards Akron police officers. Our mayor and elected officials did not respond or condemn this speech. They constantly undercut and second-guess the work that Akron police officers do on a daily basis. These speakers suggested such violence, and nothing was done about it. Silence of leaders in Akron towards the police who are cheering for murderers of officers sends a message that violence against police officers is acceptable. Just a week later, we had officers respond to a routine check the welfare call. And as they were approaching, heard gunshots in the area, and that individual didn't hesitate to point a gun at the officers and start shooting at them. These officers luckily acted quickly and were able to dive behind cars and prevent themselves from being shot. This is not a reality just that Akron police officers face, but police all around Ohio deal with every single day. We stand here as well talking about Protect Ohio Police, this unified response that we will demand city leaders to denounce people calling for the murder of police. We need local support and state laws that protect our officers, not policies that undermine us with reckless bond decisions. We're done with the empty support and hollow promises after tragedies. We will push for tougher bail, sentencing, and accountability. And if current elected officials won't act, we will defeat them at the polls and replace them with candidates who will. No more police officers should die because someone else is unwilling to do their job, which is protect us. Officers run towards danger, and politicians run away from accountability. Thank you.
I'd next like to introduce Cincinnati FOP 69 President Ken Kober.
Good morning. I'm proud to be here today as we help launch Protect Ohio Police. I'd like to thank President Jay McDonald as well as the rest of the FOP of Ohio for creating this initiative that is so much needed. In May in Hamilton County, where I work, we saw the murder of Deputy Larry Henderson, a deputy that had recently retired that was simply going back to continue to serve his community and he was targeted in a brutal manner simply because of the badge that he wore. The outpouring of support that we did see in Hamilton County was very thankful. We were very thankful for that. But while we appreciate that support, we have to do more. We need action, because somebody like Deputy Larry Henderson never should have been murdered simply for doing his job. In Hamilton County, we have judges who routinely release violent offenders that are carrying guns that are making our communities dangerous. People like Judge Samantha Silverstein is very well known to law enforcement in Hamilton County. Just last month, she released a defendant without providing any kind of cash bail for a string of violent felonies that were committed, only to be released back to the county to be able to commit more crimes. This isn't just one occurrence, and she's not the only judge. There are several that are doing this in Hamilton County. Our 20,000 plus members of the FOP of Ohio demand action. Not just words, not just Facebook posts, not just press conferences. They want action, and that's what we're here to do. We need judges whose their foremost goal is to keep Ohio families safe. Voters in our state feel strongly about that, so strongly that they created a constitutional amendment that requires judges to consider danger of offenders when they're doing their bail hearings. Prosecutors who cut weak plea deals that return violent offenders to our streets, hear me now. We will spotlight your dangerous actions, and we will be telling your constituents when it's time to vote. Protect Ohio Police is going to be calling for local action, tougher state laws, and safer court decisions. If elected officials won't do the right thing, we will call them out and we will have you replaced. We can't lose more heroes like Deputy Larry Henderson. It's time for accountability in Hamilton County and across Ohio. Thank you.
The impact of violence against the police is real. Our members feel it. They feel it every day when they put on their bulletproof vest and pin on their badge and go to work. But do you know who else feels it? Our families feel it. And they feel it until we walk back in at the end of our shift. And for 2 Ohio families, their loved one is never coming home again. I want to introduce to you my friend Angie McDowell, who will speak about the real impact of our work. Angie.
Thank you very much. And I wish we were here under better circumstances. We sure as hell don't need a press conference for something like this. Sadly, too much violence is occurring against our police. We as the citizens of Ohio, and myself and all the surviving families, cannot be silent any longer. These police leaders told you about the Protect Ohio initiative, and I'm here to tell you why it matters. My husband, Terry McDowell, was the Whitehall police officer that was killed in the line of duty August of 2001. I miss him every single day. I'm so thankful for my FOP support, and my friends and family in law enforcement. Their efforts in continuing to protect the men and women in law enforcement is what gives us survivors hope. The good work of the organization Get Behind the Badge, which provides the immediate financial support after a loved one or after an officer is killed in the line of duty, those families are scared. The organization Concerns of Police Survivors, the peer support organization, that is here long after the financial supports are gone. We walk that walk, and we rely on those people to help us get through this grief journey and to help us rebuild shattered lives. These are great, great organizations, but their work doesn't start. Their work starts after an officer is killed. This new effort, Protecting Ohio Police, will help reduce the number of officers killed. I support this project because the human and emotional toll of the loss of an officer is devastating and soul-crushing. Nothing can replace the laughs, the smiles, the hugs, the presence of my husband Terry in my life and his children's. The same goes for any of these men and women that are killed simply because they wear the badge. Violence hangs over the job like a dark storm cloud. I ask everyone listening to me to answer this simple question. Do you have a job where people you've never met hate you because of the work you do and will kill you for no other reason than that? Outside of the military, no other job faces that danger. Police do. Now I have a question for the prosecutors, judges, city councils, mayors, state legislators. How many more officers have to be targeted and killed before your empty words become fulsome action? How many more families like mine need to have their loved one in blue ripped from their life far too early before you do everything you can to protect Ohio police? Enough is enough. Talk is cheap. It's time to protect our police. Thank you.
Thank you, Angie. Thank you to all of you who came here today to show your support for this initiative, and to thank you for the millions of Ohioans that I know back the blue and are with us in this fight to protect Ohio police. With that, we will take your questions.
I know one of the things that you and I spoke about yesterday was the importance of more training. How important is that scenario-based training and having those funds to be able to do the work that you guys do every day?
The men and women who protect Ohio deserve to have every resource at their disposal to keep themselves and the community safe. That means good training. That means fully staffed police departments and sheriff's offices. That means the tools to do the job. So training's right up there with that.
And a follow-up question to that, sorry. How does it make you feel to hear that the State House budget passed budget cuts to Columbus Police Training by 19%, from $80 million to $65 million?
We call politicians who show up at our funerals or our social events and shake hands and smack us on the back and walk away without delivering for the men and women who protect our community, we call that the conspiracy of smiles. I am not aware of that. If that is true, that is one more example of someone who will smile to your face and make you less safe at work.
What is an example of what an ordinance or a law would look like to better protect the police?
Well, what we need is people who commit violence upon the police need to be put in jail, not community-controlled sanctions, or otherwise known as probation. When people commit violence against the cops, they need to go to jail, end of story, period, full stop. That's a start. We need judges, not just in Hamilton County, but here in Franklin County. We had a judge who let a guy go time after time after time who'd been caught illegally carrying weapons. And then he uses those same illegal weapons to try to execute police officers. It's gross, it's disgusting, it's vile. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about prosecutors who let violent criminals back on our streets with sweetheart plea deals. Now, I'll be the first to tell you that that doesn't apply in every county with every prosecutor, but it does apply in this state in certain instances, and where it happens, we will call it out and we will condemn it loudly and clearly for the public to see.
I wanted to ask for more details on the candidate recruitment thing you were talking about. Would that look like, many of these cities and big counties are Democratic controlled, so would you be looking in a primary to primary these people, or are you looking for a general election opponent? Are there particular races you're targeting? Just looking for more details on what that might look like in practice.
Yeah, this is not a partisan initiative. What this is Republicans or Democrats or independents or libertarians. If you take action that makes the men and women of law enforcement less safe, we will come after you either in a primary and or in the general election to replace you with people who will protect the police. That's what we care about. We don't care about R's and D's and other letters. We care about politicians who will support the police.
So you have speakers here from Cincinnati and Akron. Does that mean that elected officials in those communities are on your minds as you're rolling this out?
All elected officials who take action that do not support the police and who make our members less safe, we will come after them at the ballot box. We represent members in every corner of this state, from the river to the lake, from Indiana to Pennsylvania and everywhere in between. I have more than 200 local lodges. We don't have time today but to have 200 speakers, but what I will tell you is we have 200 local lodges that are united in complete support of our efforts to keep the men and women of law enforcement safe. Spencer.
I know you'll be rolling out the platform, but you were talking a lot about local focus. Is there anything specific at state or federal levels that you'll be seeking when you say now?
Yes, the same. At the state and at the federal level, we want laws that hold violent criminals accountable, specifically for when they commit violence upon the police. We need to do better at keeping violent criminals locked up. Think about this. If a criminal is willing to attack a police officer, what are they willing to do to a member of the general public? There's a reason we call ourselves the thin blue line, because we stand in between the general public and those who wish to commit violence and mayhem. And wherever you commit that violence and mayhem, you need to be held accountable in the courts, and you need to be held in custody until you're no longer a threat to the public.
So are you seeking mandatory minimums then?
Yeah, we're going to look at all options, but the first thing we need to do is to ensure that the appropriate charges are filed and the appropriate sentences are enacted against the violent criminals. And we could do that today. Some places, judges and prosecutors choose not to.
I know one of those federal measures that you guys were looking at was the Protect and Serve Act in Washington. That bill has not been assigned to a committee since it's been introduced in January. I'd just love to gauge your reaction.
Well, I believe that bill is pending in the House Judiciary Committee, and we have been to D.C. to lobby for the Protect and Serve Act, and we did it in this Congress, and we've done it in prior Congresses. It's a perfect example of what we're talking about, where people smile and shake our hands and then don't follow through on the actions to keep our members safe. A federal penalty for those who commit violence against law enforcement is something that we're seeking and something that we demand get passed. We demand Ohio's congressional members, from top to bottom, from north to south, east to west, sign on and support that bill.
So last week, Ryan Steele and other officials kind of laid out the call for a meeting with judges and prosecutors to discuss these community control sentences. Have you heard any response from these
Well,
officials?
we support the actions of Lodge 9 President Brian Steele and all of the members of the Franklin County FOP. And we welcome all of that discussion locally to happen between prosecutors and judges and the men and women of that local law enforcement. They need to hear from us to understand why it is that we are so angry, that why it is business as usual can no longer be the case. They need to hear from us up front and in person, eye to eye, why this is important to us. Because I've been to too many funerals, and so have they. And I've been to too many hospital rooms, and so have they. It's time. It's time for them to stand up and do the right thing. And if they don't, we'll be there to let everybody know about it.
If you could send one message to Governor DeWine and the state legislature as to what action you would like to see them take today, what would that be?
Yeah, today I want stiffer penalties for those who commit violence against the police. Today I want people who commit violence against the police to be held accountable by judges and prosecutors. Today I want an end an end to the climate from our elected officials that makes violence against the cops acceptable. It is never acceptable. Violence against the police is never acceptable, and no elected leader should ever stand silent when our men and women have to place themselves in harm's way to protect people they don't even know, and they can't even get their employers to denounce that. Disgusting. Anything else?
I just wanted to ask to follow up on the candidate recruitment thing. I know that FOP is typically active in elections, endorsing candidates and stuff like that. Is it unusual for you to take the step to actually proactively try to find challengers to elected officials?
Yes, and the reason that we are taking this extra additional step is because enough is enough. Our members are not only saddened by the violence against our members, we're angry. We're beyond angry. We are ready for people to stand up and do the right thing. And if they won't do it, we will find people who will. People from our membership, people from the general public who support the good work that the men and women in law enforcement do. That's who we'll be looking for help. Thank you. I appreciate your time.